Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Gunslinger Gazette. Thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you one and all. Thank you for watching this special edition of the Gunslinger Gazette. Why is it special? Because I have a very special guest joining me tonight. He is the general manager and head coach of your San Antonio Gunslingers, Coach Tom Menas. Good evening, Coach, and thank you for joining me tonight. I greatly appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we get in, how's life in your little slice of heaven?
Busy. When you're gone as much as I was, there's a lot to catch up on. We got a lot of property and a lot of woods, and so I've been. I laid it out last week on my show. I get up, I make my calls, I watch film, I take my break, I go out in the woods, I come back in, make my calls, watch film. Every time I get a break, I go out there and try to get some work done and do it all until about, 5, 6 o'clock every night. So it turns into long days, but I love it. So it's good.
That's right. No rest for the weary, huh?
Yeah, and I'm getting ready to come back into town. I'll be in San Antonio, flying in Saturday, and I'll be there all next week. So I'm looking forward to that too. My second home. So
yes, sir. Well, we're looking forward to having you come back home.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get into the meat of the show. We're going to go over the first topic is free agency. So the next milestone in the Indoor Football League is free agency, which is happening later this week on September 15th.
Sunday. Yep.
Yes, sir, on Sunday. So, Coach, what is your primary objectives during this free agency period?
I use the 15 days, 16 days, whatever it is, that we have once we can start conversations as part of my vetting process. And, I've had a few kids call me already, and I tell them, hey, I can't talk to you officially. And, I look forward to speaking to you on Sunday. I think what's going to happen is I'll be busy up until about 1 o'clock. And then when the NFL comes on, I think they're going to all be busy watching games. And then after games, I'm going to be busy probably till midnight. But it's the first opportunity they get a chance to speak with me if they don't know me. They get to hear about what San Antonio's like, not just the Gunslingers, but the community, our infrastructure that we're real proud of. And so, yeah, I use it as vetting. Then I ask a lot of questions. Tell me about you. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your college coach. Tell me about your last experience in pro football. And I take that stuff very seriously. And how they respond is really, it's a job interview. And then we go from there. Now, there's a couple guys that are in our sights that we're hoping that we're going to have an opportunity to secure. And when that opportunity happens, then you have to, bite your nails for 15 days and hope they don't change their mind. But yeah, we're excited about it. And we have 10 returning starters coming back. So we're real happy about that. And we'll just see how it goes.
Yes, sir. So how do you prioritize which positions to target in free agency?
I think the biggest thing is that you go by, well, first of all, let's talk about defense. We're revamping the entire defense this year. From the linemen to linebackers, defensive backs. We have 2 returning players that played exceptionally well on defense for us as DBs. Duck and Wiley are coming back, but we're going to bring in probably 8 DBs to camp, if not more, maybe even 9. And then I think what we got to do is I'd like to get guys that have at least 1 year indoor experience. The learning curve proved a little insurmountable for some of our guys last year on defense. And the other is I'd like to get guys that have IFL experience, at least 1 year in the IFL, so they understand the basics, the rules, and we take that learning curve up. Now, that being said, you get the exceptional athlete, you're gonna jump on it, right? So you figure that's the player you're going to spend some time with and teach more and do a little bit more film study in the off season. So when they come into camp, they're prepared. But I think our number one priority right now is our defense as a whole. And then we're looking for a couple offensive linemen that are physical, athletic. I'm not a guy in the really big bodied guys. I'm more into guys that are athletic, big shoulders, smaller waist, not carrying extra 100 pounds or 50 pounds. And bringing a couple more receivers. We're going to bring in at least one or two other running backs. We're very happy with those guys, but you got to have them because God forbid something happens in camp, right?
Right.
And then, of course, we're going to solidify our quarterback situation, and hopefully by October 1st or 2nd.
Okay. All right. So I know you cannot give us any specifics about players that you're looking for, but you did kind of answer the question about what type of players that you're looking to bring in.
Right.
Now, I know with the IFL, love it or hate it, we do have that veteran rule, and I think it's 7 players.
Yeah, it's seven veterans.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And veterans are considered to be players with 4 or more years of experience. So
right.
with the revamping of your defense, does that mean you're going to be focusing a lot on veterans to bring into the defense?
No, not necessarily. I'm looking for the 1 and 2 year players on defense.
Okay.
I want younger, hungry dogs. I want guys that are just nasty, get after it. I don't believe in this bend, don't break. I don't believe in, it's okay to give up a first down. It's okay to give up a touchdown. I don't believe that. Now, is it going to happen? Of course it's going to happen, but I want it to legitimately piss you off if you give up a touchdown. I want it to. I want guys that from week to week want to get better every week. So defensively, it's a reactionary position. You have to react to what's presented to you, where offensively you have a plan and a scheme already in place. Okay. And so if you're going to run a power to the field, they already know where they're stepping. They already know where they're going. Now we can call a defense that we think based on scouting mimics what they're going to run in that situation, but you still have to be reactive. Okay, you have to be athletic enough, flying around. I want guys that go sideline to sideline, don't take plays off, just get after it, flat out dogs. And that's the best way to put it. So, we had the outlaw game. Well, if you take away the bad part of it, I want the outlaw mentality and the grit mentality on defense this year and offense, but especially on defense.
Yes, sir. So we know in the NFL they have like a draft board. So do you have like a free agency board that you have where there's players out there that that you want? Right.
Yeah, I started it the day after our last game, and that included players, coaches, sponsors, everybody on my wish list. I've got 3 of them going right now. I've got one for players that have had experience in indoor football only. And then I got players that have played college and other pro ball, either in Canada or the NFL. And then I interact those as signings happen. So I'll literally go down a list and I know who my first calls are going to be to on Sunday. And I know who my calls will be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, if I don't call you till Thursday, it doesn't mean you're not special enough to get that call. You may be the first call on Thursday, which is a position call. So, but yeah, taking it extremely seriously, the board is, I always tell my coaches, the board is the ultimate tool for a coach. And that board should be that way from the end of July all the way until the first day of camp. And then once camp starts, you start a new board and you keep a board all year long. So God forbid a tackle goes down or a running back goes down, you just go on your board and go, that's my next call. So I tell some of these kids, I can't use you right now based on circumstance, but that doesn't mean no. So it just means not right now. And I tell them all to stay in shape and be prepared, and just you're a phone call away.
Sure. So how do you balance the need between immediate impact players and long-term development players?
We don't have time for long-term development players in this league.
Yeah.
If they'd get rid of the damn veteran rule, we could develop players. But by God, don't call us a developmental league by any stretch. We are not. We are a win now league. Okay, that's what we are, and that's okay. That's fun too. Mm-hmm. But imagine if you had a player that you really cared a lot about, one, personally, and two is that was exceptional at his craft. And there's going to come a point after his third year where you got to go veteran, rookie. I can only have 7. And now you're going to take a guy who could be a Hall of Famer in this league, mm-hmm. and you're going to push him off to another league that doesn't have a veteran role.
Right.
So if we're developing anybody, we're developing our players to go to other indoor leagues. Sure. That's how I look at it.
Yes, sir.
And I just don't. I don't understand the whole philosophy behind it.
Now, I know you talk on your show all the time about the type of players and characters of players. So what role does chemistry play in your free agency decision?
It's big. It's really big. The thing about it is we are a faith-based, patriotic, God-fearing, aggressive football team, okay, with a championship mentality. If you don't check all those boxes, you ain't coming here, okay? Now you're going to say, so you're not going to bring in a kid who's an atheist? Probably not. And it's not because I'm a Christian and I believe that. It's because how is he going to interact with the other guys in the locker room? How is he going to interact when we say team prayer? We say a prayer. Hell, we say a prayer before practice. We say a prayer before games. We say a prayer after games. We give thanks for the opportunity we have to do it. So it makes it tough sometimes, right? And I'm sympathetic to that, but I'm also not blinded by it and what it can do to a team. The same thing's true. You bring in a kid who's a womanizer. Right? All these players got moms and sisters and girlfriends or wives, and they don't want to be around that either, right? We have a strict no drug policy. That includes cannabis, that includes everything, right? Associated with narcotics. Texas, it's not legal, so it's not legal involved in ours. One infraction, you're gone. Okay? We just don't do it. Alcohol is permitted with limitations. Never be out of control, never drink and drive, never be publicly intoxicated, all those things. So I lay that out to guys. And I've had guys tell me, well, I ain't coming there. That doesn't sound like fun at all. But I think you get two different kinds of players. You get two different kinds of coaches, okay, in indoor football. I've been around it a long time. The player you get is either the kid who absolutely loves football because they're not making $1 million, right? He just loves football, loves the opportunity, loves to continue playing, and always has in the back of his mind the dream that one day Jerry Jones is going to see him flipping channels and signs him, right? Then you got the other guy who plays pro football now in other cities so he can go have a second life. Chase girls, even though you got a girl at home. I always tell guys, if I ever catch you cheating if I know you're married and I ever catch you cheating on your spouse, I said, I'm going to cut you because you're making me part of that cheating if I know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can't say we want to be a team of high character. Hey, and don't get me wrong, sinner. By God's grace, I'm sitting here. Okay, and I'm not trying to be holier now. I'm just saying that now we have an opportunity to bring in the right people. Okay, so you have that, and then you also have that with certain coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have coaches that come and think they're on vacation.
Yeah.
Now we've never had that. We've had great stand-up character guys, and everywhere I've been, we've made a point of having that. Have I seen some? Yeah, I've seen some guys that just, hey, football season, chance for 6 months to go play house with somebody else.
Okay.
Right, but it's true, and we just don't do that, and I just don't do that. So we keep when you talk about character, honestly, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about guys that not only talk about it but live it every single day, right? And that's what I want. I tell Don Reckler this all the time. He says, "Well, do they have this? Do they have that?" I said, "Just treat them like they were your son.
Mm-hmm.
Just treat them like they were your son. What would you do if that was your son there? What would you do if Would you discipline them? Then discipline them. Would you love on them? Then love on them, right?" So I think that's a big part of why I think we're a very, very special organization. The best one I've ever been involved with, as far as organizational, absolute best. But it comes at a cost. So if someone's willing to pay for it, pay the price, then they can be here.
Absolutely. So, how would you evaluate the success of your free agency acquisitions?
You're never happy. You're never happy. Would I like to bet 1,000? Yeah. If I batted Hall of Fame baseball and I did 400, I'd be lousy as a coach, right?
Right.
So I would say if we can get 8 out of the 10 people that we're going for, then I would be extremely happy. That's how I rate it. If I can get my top line on my boards or my ones and twos there locked in, then we can do that. So, and then you always get surprises. That's why we're doing the tryout on November 23rd. I always say this, and I truly mean this: the best football players in the world aren't all in the NFL.
Right.
There's some guy working at Amazon that's a better player, that's a better receiver than some receivers in the NFL. There's a lineman working at a gym that might be better than half the linemen in the league. And until you get the opportunity, no one's ever going to notice you. So I think the biggest thing is we try to be a league of opportunity. We try to be a team of opportunity and team of fair competition. So
Excellent. So, transitioning from free agency into like off-season goals. So, what are your main goals for the team this off-season?
The biggest one is through our Zoom calls, through our coaches interacting with our players, making sure everyone's dialed in with rules, everyone's dialed in with playbooks, schemes, all the different things, and then their off-season conditioning, staying on top of that with players.
Mm-hmm.
There's a player that we had, and I would talk to him, and I'd say, what are you doing? He goes, "Oh, I'm working out." I said, "The only time I see you working out is when you film it and put it on Facebook."
Hmm.
And I said, "I only see you do 1 or 2 reps or something." And I said, "Make sure you're getting your cardio and make sure you're doing this. I need you coming in at this weight." Da, 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 da. Shows up for camp 25 pounds heavier than he should have been.
Yeah.
And you don't last that way. You just don't last that way. So there's expectation. When you call yourself a professional football player, that should include all parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's 365 days a year. You're a pro football player. And that means how you eat, how you sleep, how you train, how you study, how you interact in your community, all those things. So try to stress that as much as we can, but you get fooled once in a while. You do.
Sure. So that kind of leads into my next question would be, so how do you ensure players stay motivated during the off season and stay in shape?
Threaten them. No, I love Lou Holtz's line. I think it's the best line ever written by a coach. He said, "You know how you motivate the unmotivated? You cut them." See, here's the thing. I have great respect for high school football coaches, but I can't do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I've done it. No, thank you. I don't want to deal with all that drama, right? But they're trying to develop kids at that age level to be at that age level, okay? Then you go to college, and college job is really to develop that freshman by the time he's a senior into a good young man and a great football player, right? So when you get to the pros, you pretty much get what you get. You either got the guy who went through the process and developed and matured, made his mistakes, came out of it okay, worked harder, sinned, came out of it, got forgiveness, did this, did all the things that we all done, right? We've all done. Right. And then by the time they get to you as a pro, I expect professional people as well as professional football players.
So what is your approach to player development during the offseason?
Well, there's really not a whole lot you can do other than the schematics of a football game, or football team. Teaching playbooks, like I said, interacting. I'll call players up and I'll say, how you doing today? We may not even talk about football, but there's nothing, I don't think to me, when I played, there's nothing better than getting a call from your head coach to just see how you're doing. And then typically, if it's one of my linemen, I'll say, how you doing? Coach, I swear I'm running. I swear. You lying, pizza eating. But they know the expectation. The ones that are coming back know my expectation. We run every day. We do everything very fast paced. We practice if it's raining and it's 50 degrees, and we practice if it's 110 and dry as a bone. We're smart about it, but you better come in with the tough mindset too. This is something that if it's that special to you, and it's that special to me, let's be the best version of us when we get here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you've already addressed the fact that you're going to do a defensive overhaul.
Yep.
I know that the offensive coaches seem like they've already been announced that they're staying. So we're assuming that the defensive coaches are not returning. So do you have in mind defensive coaches on your board that you're looking at?
There's two defensive coaches. Coach Fuller is going to remain offensive coordinator and assistant head coach. I think he did an outstanding job.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he was my candidate for assistant coach of the year. And then Lee Johnson, who was helping or was doing the offensive line. Lee is very Lee was a defensive player for his career and very defensive mindset. And him and I throughout the year had conversations about some of his philosophies mirrored a lot of my philosophies. So Lee and I are going to handle the defense next year. I'm going to be a much bigger part of that defense than I was this year. It's going to be my baby. We'll just say. And if it doesn't perform the way it should, then I deserve to be fired. but it's going to be a lot different than what it was. And then there's another assistant coach that I'd like to bring on board. And I'm probably not going to do anything with that for at least another month.
Okay.
But I get calls from coaches all the time. I have several that are hitting me up every day, asking about coming into San Antonio. That's a discussion I'll have with our president and Don about how many and who he wants to bring in and all that. But I'll be honest with you, the most success I ever had in arena football, I had 3 coaches.
Okay.
We didn't get in each other's way. We all did everything. We worked together really good. We all took ownership in different parts of the team. So, it just depends. Hey, trust me, I'd love that 4th because it's just we got a lot of moving parts, but we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I'm not going to bring in someone just to bring in somebody.
Okay. All right. Well, that's something to look forward to. The Tom Menas defense.
Well, it's going to be much different. We'll just say that than it was last year. And we'll probably, if we get penalized, it's not going to be because we were out of the box. Our linebacker was this, or we weren't. It'll be because we hit someone in the mouth too hard.
All those illegal defense penalties was just.
Well, I'll tell you the interesting thing that we found out at the owners' meeting. We found out that there's actually 3 different tier officials. There's the first tier officials, there were second tier officials, and the third tier officials. Guess who got the third tier officials?
Let me take a wild guess.
Yeah. So we went back and I'm not using this as an excuse. This is fact. We went back and looked at the 8 games that we lost last year. And 4 of those games were competitive, but we lost.
Right.
Okay. The only game that we got even a little bit hammered was the Vegas game. Okay. Yeah. But the other 4 we won. We won those other 4. We should have been 12-4 this year. And if we'd have made it, it'd have been a heck of a lot more competitive game than it was in Vegas. But using that as fuel, okay, chip on our shoulder kind of thing. That and the fact that I know our head of officials is working diligently to correct that problem. But I will tell you, if we see those same guys in our arena again next year, we probably won't play.
Oh, no.
I mean, because these guys are horrible. Especially that one with Kali being just the smartest football player in the world and stopping on the 1-yard line to let the clock run, and they give him a second person, and then eject him. And they said, no, this and that. And I said to the white hat, I said, what are you doing? And I go, that's the wrong call. Override your official. That's why you have the pretty white hat. Override your official and do that. He goes, say another word and I'm going to give you 15 yards. And I go, I don't care. I mean, it's to the point now where I couldn't even communicate to these guys. They were so bad. And before one of the games, the guy goes, yeah, it's my first game. I was in high school. And I went, what? You never refed indoor football? And that's the one where we caught a touch, or we intercepted the ball in the end zone, and he called a touchdown. We actually had the ball. And then he had to change. Oh, I made a mistake. And I'm like, what game were you watching? There were points of it that were comical, but there were other points that, and I will tell you this, 3 other coaches that I visited with in Vegas said the same thing. They don't understand that poor officiating is not only bad for our game, it's bad for our league, but it's also costing coaches jobs.
Yeah.
It really is. It's costing hardworking, good coaches jobs. And that has to stop. It just has to stop. Hey, we get beat. Don says it all the time. I say it all the time. Be a great winner and be a courteous loser. Be courteous. You don't have to feel good about it. I don't want you to feel good about it. If you feel good about it, I'll be mad. But be courteous. And I want to say I've run over to the other benches and shook their hands on a loss that I thought we should have won.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be that way, the same way you are when you win. You should have the same facial expression. You should have the same everything. So, just my point of view.
Yes, sir. All right. So transitioning into our last topic for
Okay.
tonight is just your general strategy. So how do you balance the need for rest and recovery with the need for preparation and training?
Okay. So, a couple little secrets, I guess, out there, which I'm happy to share because I wish all coaches did this, and probably a lot do. But let's say we're preseason. Preseason, we're a 7-day a week team. We practice 7 days a week because we only get 2 weeks of camp.
Right.
So you got your first week is really just figuring out who's going to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
That usually happens. It's funny to say this out loud, but so you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I pretty much know who I'm cutting by Wednesday, that first week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But some guys you keep around because you're just not sure, they just haven't learned it fast enough or whatever. Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday is when you pretty much finalize figuring out who's going to be ones, who's twos, who's going home, all that. By Monday, what I always try to do is cut the majority of the guys we're cutting of that second week, because I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to land with some other team. Okay. And then by Wednesday of that second week, anybody who was on the bubble, I'll usually make my decision then if they stay or they go. And then starting the day after that, we start game prep for our first game, which would be roughly a week and a half away from that point. Once we do that, well, put it to you this way. The day I make the last cuts, I give the guys a day off. And I say, you made the team. Go get a pizza and a soda pop, right? And be happy, enjoy it. There's nothing greater. There's no greater feeling in the world than making a professional football team. Go enjoy it. Have the day off. Usually Don will have everybody out to the ranch for dinner to celebrate, welcoming them as the roster. And then we get right at it the next day, and we'll go all the way up until the first game and play. Now, if we're home and we're playing on a Saturday, Sunday is really for film the day after. What we're going to do on Sundays is we're going to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, do film in the morning and a little rundown just to get the lactic acid out of your legs. Okay. And then typically they would have Monday off if it's not a short week.
Right.
So they'll get Monday off and then come in Tuesday and then go from there. Mid-season, if they win on a Saturday, especially if we're away, I usually just tell them I'll see y'all Tuesday. And they just cheer like little girls. Okay? Yeah, they're just so excited to have a day off. And those days off only apply to the players. They don't apply to the coaches. So we get back, we got to first grade the film, figure out what we did right, what we did wrong, and then prepare for our upcoming opponent and our scouting reports. So, yeah, that's part of it. The other part of it is contact, okay? And this includes camp.
Mm-hmm.
We never wear football pants. We wear shorts.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, and I have some strict rules about that, I don't want anyone on anyone else's legs. Okay? You can pop a guy in the mouth, and I'm okay with that. Just stay off their knees, their hips, their ankles, right? And by doing that, I probably had the healthiest teams in indoor football my whole career. In Albany in 21 and 22, the worst injury, we had 0 concussions, and the only injury I had was a thumb that happened a week before the championship game. And it was a ligament tear, needed minor surgery, and that was it.
Mm.
Last year here, we had a couple knees, but they were non-contact injuries.
No.
Okay,
Right.
2 were non-contact, 1 was a roll. No, only two leg injuries, and then the other one was a minor shoulder. But that's it. So we didn't have any concussions. We didn't have any of the normal stuff. We had a bunch of dislocated fingers, but those don't count. Pop it in and play, right? The weird thing is though, is that if you have a no contact below the waist rule, so then you got to set the rules. So what do you do if it's a fumble at practice? Do you dive on the ground? Nope. If you fumbled, you lost the ball. It's defense's ball. Period.
Okay.
That way, no one's diving on the ground for balls, and that's where a lot of careless injuries happen, especially on AstroTurf, right? So we set the rules. There'll be days I'll tell the coaches, elongate the whistle, let them play it longer, let the play go longer, and see how it develops. So there's contact and all that. And there's other days we'll say, go quick whistle. So you're not beating up your running back or your quarterback or your wide receivers, right? If there's a pass thrown at practice that's up in the air, whether it's in 7-on-7 or Skelly rather, or team, and the receiver jumps up in the air for the ball, and you could either hit him at that point of contact, or if you're running too fast, undercut him, and what happens then, injuries, just get to him, and I'll know you were there. That's why we film practice. Now, if you're 3 yards behind him and say, well, I didn't want to hit him, I'll say, BS, you weren't there. If you were right in his hip pocket and you were in good position with your hips and your hands, why hit him? He's your guy. Right. We need him, So I think if you did that to a Naquan Murray or DJ Myers or an Upshaw or Rashad at practice, I'd probably cut you on the spot. Because you're just dumb. And so it's a lot of respect for your teammates and having self-control. And we didn't have, come to think of it, we didn't have one legitimate fist fight at practice last year, which is strange. With them, they genuinely loved each other. They really did. They cared a lot about each other.
Excellent. So last question for you, Coach, before I let you go.
All right.
It's going to be the big one. And what are your expectations for the upcoming season, and how do you plan on achieving them?
Okay. My mindset hasn't changed. The thing, I learned one thing last year. When I said I plan on winning a championship or being in a championship, I was serious. And if we'd had better refs, we would have been there. And I mean that. So my expectation hasn't changed. I plan on being in Vegas for championship, and not as a fan, but as a participant.
Sure.
The guys we're bringing back, and you could call any one of them anytime you want with me not being on the phone and ask them, what's your expectation? What do you think coach's expectation is? They're going to tell you the same thing, win the championship next year. And that's our goal. It's not making the playoffs. It's not being competitive. It's winning the championship. And we're going to do everything in our powers to do that. And God willing, we stay healthy enough to do it and achieve those goals. And as long as it's a fair playing field, I think we're going to be exceptional. Again, because I thought we were damn good at times last year.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And so all this begins this Sunday with free agency period, and we'll just go on from there. And your open tryouts in November, and we'll see where it takes us.
Sounds good. Well, we hope to see you at the tryouts.
Absolutely. Yeah,
come on,
open to the public, right?
You can talk to some of the kids that are participating. I know we'll have a couple players there. Coaches are all going to be there. They're going to fly in for it. We've got it's sponsored by South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital, and we're doing things. See, this is the difference between other places and us, right? So a young man comes to us. He wants to try out. And a typical tryout is they go on the field for a couple hours, they try out, they tell them, yeah, no, we'll let you know, and they go home. If they're lucky, they get a T-shirt, right? You come to us, we're giving you a $50 jersey to wear or T-shirt to wear, dry fit. We're going to have every coach there to help evaluate you. We're going to test you. We're going to spend time with you. We're going to coach you. And then afterwards, we're providing them a lunch from Outback Steakhouse. So,
wow, yeah, Coach, I think I might just try out just so I can get that free dinner.
So Outback's been great enough to say, "Hey, we'll do lunch for you," and they're going to do a big spread for us. And why is that important? Well, because you're feeding them. Yeah, I'm sure every kid will appreciate the meal after a workout, but it's also an opportunity for coaches to walk around the tables, pull kids, talk to them one-on-one, do the interview process. Me to get to meet a lot of them, all of them, and find out, more about them, and thank them for coming out and all the good things that go with it. And what a great experience, though, right? I mean, who does that? I mean, who does that, really? Exactly. It's crazy, So, yeah, we'd love to have you out there if you want to come out and do a little show out there, or just do interviews. That'd be great.
I absolutely would love to. Thank you.
It's open to the fans too. Yes, so we want fans out there, and we want moms, dads, anybody who's got a son who's trying out. Feel free to come out.
Yes, sir. All right, Coach. Well, I think that's it. That's all I have for you tonight. I'll let you go. I know you've got a very busy schedule.
A little bit.
No rest for you, so I'll let you get to it. And I do thank you again for taking the time out and joining me tonight. I am very honored and blessed to have you on.
As I am. Thank you. And God bless everybody. And guns up.
Yes, sir. You too, Coach. May the Lord look upon you and give you peace.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Always take that blessing. Thanks.
Yes, sir. All right, guns up, Coach.
Guns up, baby.
And that's it for the show. I want to thank Coach Tom Menas again for joining me tonight and taking time out from his busy schedule. It was a great honor and a privilege to have him on. I had a lot of fun. And if you had fun, if you found this interview to be informative and entertaining, please let me know by hitting that like button below. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to this channel to keep up to date on all things San Antonio Gunslingers. Well, I think it's time for this deputy to wander off into the sunset, at least until the next video. Until then, San Antonio, guns up.